Welcome everybody back to another episode of Competent Conquest. This week I play a combined arms 100 Kingdoms list against another combined arms list in City States. Bryan is playing City States and I'm playing 100 Kingdoms. And as you can see on the right here, because of course I didn't hit the start recording button prior to rolling them, I managed to get both of my light regiments in. I have two mercenary crossbows and a regiment of longbows. So I'm starting with everybody on the field. So I had to choose one of my units to not go as far because I only get to select 2 units for Vanguard. And I believe I had the longbows hold back. Actually, don't remember. I guess we'll find out. So he has one light regiment. It's Selenoy. He brings in a large unit. He runs the 5 wide that I've been really liking. So we're all kind of running that together. He decides not to bring his Selenoy on turn 1 because he doesn't want to just get shot at. And because I would have more cards than him and could give Vanguard to my longbows, I would be able to march up and shoot at him from basically anywhere. So he decided to just not give me information on where his Selenoy are going to go and just leave them off the table turn 1, which is a smart play. I think that's a good play. If you're just gonna be out board controlled in the light regiment part of the game, a lot of times it makes sense not to put your light regiment on the board. Longbows shoot so far that you can't really afford to just run into them. You're going to just take some free damage, and you don't want that. I mean, they're move 6, so if he had chosen to bring his Selenoy on, I have a 36-inch threat. I can just go on directly across from them and shoot him. I mean, he could just come on 11 inches, but then I'd also know exactly where his Selenoy are and get to counter deploy on them. So either way, I think it's a pretty smart play to not bring them in here. This list only has 1 medium, so I bring in my Noble Lord with Household Guard. And I switch which side my Noble Lord's on. Because I'm trying to decide where they want to go, but I think I'm going to go on the outside of the left side zone. I feel like with the Household Guard and the Longbowmen, I should be able to hold that flank against most things. And my plan is to bring the Gilded Legion in on the inside and have them just run over top the Longbowmen. Longbows are in range to shoot anything that would be on the hill, so if he tries to go to my flank, I can just shoot him. I know he has chariots, so I can just shoot those. I think he's probably going to bring in Selenoy to challenge my longbows, and frankly, I'll just shoot at him. I can get out of range of him, and I think he moves up. I don't remember what happened. So I go with he strategic stacks, and I just bring in my Household Guard, and they just march on 16. They get Vanguarded, obviously. He activates he brings on Hoplites, and he knows that he needs Hoplites to get in this zone. He reorganizes the unit here, and then we're talking about it, and I was like, well, usually I like running them only 2 deep in chariot lists because it gives you more room for the chariots to hang behind them. So he ends up like redoing that. So we're going to fast forward here a little bit until his unit is reset up. And I don't know why the cards are getting kind of wonky here, but they are. Sorry about that. It's just a bug with these movement trays. Sometimes it's a graphical bug. Sometimes the cards just get stretched out in a weird way. This is a good position for these Hoplites. The thing I really like about it is I take the garrison here, but the thing I really like about this position with the Hoplites is he has space on the side of the board for him to bring chariots in that can likely get decent shots into my flank for exploit flanks. And still be impossible to charge, because there's not enough room there for, if he just keeps the front end of his chariot a little bit behind these hoplites, for me to ever be able to charge it. Because he can be like, since chariots are only one wide, they're able to just get in place. I mean, he double marches on here, but I'm sure the plan is bring hoplites up to protect them. He ends up being a little aggressive with that chariot this game, and I'm not super sure that was worth it, but he outcards me this turn, so I just kind of march longbows forward. This was a mistake by me. I moved the longbows up enough that Gilded Legion could like fit behind him, and then I took a few like random pot shots into a unit that wasn't going to take any damage. And I really shouldn't have done that. There was really no reason for me to move these longbows forward. It gives him the ability to put Selenoy too close to me, so that he's within. He is able to get within 22 inches of me, I believe, so that he can shoot me on the following turn. And there was no reason for me to do that. If I just stay over 34 inches from his board edge, yeah. If I say 34.1 inches from his board edge, it is impossible for the Selenoy to shoot my longbows, which means that I am able to just really garner that positioning. And I made a mistake there. I didn't measure that out, and I do get slightly too close to his board edge. Those are the types of things that don't always matter, but certainly can matter. It kind of works out because it makes him want to go to within 24 of me, so that if I go first with priority, I get to shoot him, which, like, I think happens. I don't remember. I win a lot of priority rolls. So I bring in my Gilded Legion and my Ashen, and I roll a 6 to try to bring in my Crimson Tower, so they'll be joining us on turn 4. So his Selenoy come in, and he's able to get to within 22 of me because I screwed up and moved too far forward, for lack of a better way to put that. So he's rolling, I believe, for his mediums, and they all come in on turn 3. So his whole list is in. He only has one heavy. And I am still waiting on my Crimson Tower. That Priory Commander needs to go in the stack at some point, but it hasn't yet. I measure this out. This is another reason for the mistake. My longbow are too far forward for my Gilded Legion to jump over them. And yeah, so, you know, I didn't play the Longbowmen especially well here. I believe we're just building stacks. It's turn 3, and I remember that I have to have a Priory Commander. He's clearly just going to go like very early. I think I'm in range with the longbows, so I think I just go longbows to try to like take aim and shoot. Yep. And then from there, I'm just gonna I get half shots because he has rules. So I do 4 hits. He's evasion 1. He has loose formation. That's the name of the rule. He fails all those, so I get a stand, which I'm happy about. He goes with his Selenoy, and then they have to march their full 6 and shoot me. And like part of the plan here was that he would get close to the Merc crossbows, and then they would be able to shoot from the terrain. And he does 4 hits, and I'm also saving on 1s, but I'm better than him, and I roll 2 1s. And so then I go with Mercenary Crossbows, and I shoot at him. And I thought I was in effective range, but I'm actually not, because I killed that stand earlier. It only matters for the leader stand, because they go from 3 to 4, which still gets halved to 2. So it's 6 or 7 shots. We do 3 hits. I believe he saves at least one of these. Yep. So, you know, he's back to average. Like he took 7 hits and he saved 1. Like that's where he should be. Ironically, though, like I would have gotten 1 more shot had he saved 1 of the first 4. So Aristarch goes, puts up Tenacious and rerolls, and then now I'm going to dirtle with characters. So my Noble Lord shakes his fist. His Hoplites, I think he just brings on the fresh ones over here. He goes through the rearranging that stack, and then eventually they end up over there. I dirtle with a Priory commander. He goes Polemarch to fight in the shade. I go Imperial officer to do nothing. He goes Haspist. So he's going to bring on Haspists. He wants to threaten those Merc crossbows, but they haven't gone yet, so he doesn't want to take free shooting. So because of that, I think he's forced to place these Haspists in a place where he doesn't really want them, and they end up having to go at the garrisoned, go try to kill garrisoned mercenary crossbows. That was kind of my plan. I put one of these Merc crossbows to be like the very last activation, or a very late activation, in order to threaten something that would try to come in on that side of the board. I figure I outcarded him, and I thought I could probably get away with it. So he brings on Haspists. There's barely enough room for him to wheel past the building there. But he wheels into it. His plan is just to kill the mercenary crossbows that are in the building. And that's completely fine. So this is part of the reason why moving the longbows up was a mistake. Because had I kept them out of range of Haspist doing anything to them this turn, I would also be able to jump them right now with Gilded Legion and shoot at Selenoy doing anything to them this turn. I'd be able to jump them right now with these Gilded Legion. But I didn't do that, so the Gilded Legion 16 is not enough to get past them, because they're slightly too far forward, which is slightly annoying, because I'd rather that those Gilded Legion were in a more threatening position, and then my longbows could have activated much later in the turn, and probably dumped a lot of shots into those Haspists, which they would have significantly preferred to do. Because then the Selenoy would have had to shoot at the Merc crossbow in the building. It's just, it's a whole to do. But yeah, don't move your stuff up too far. Be aware of your opponent's threat ranges. It's an easy mistake to make. We all make it. It happens all the time. The plan here is have all three of these guys touching the forest and get them just as far up as possible. And so that they'll guaranteed make a march charge. It's not a safe die roll. I think he needs a 4, and a 50-50 just really isn't exciting when you're going to be standing right in front of mercenary crossbows if you fail it. And they're not going to do much in combat, so just march charging them is a lot safer. I go with Household Guard here. This is a little frustrating because I need to get at least 3 stands in the zone. I probably only needed 2 stands in the zone, so I likely should have gone a little further backwards from where I was, so that the chariot couldn't get into the zone and take it from me. But I went for the 3 stands in plan, and he's able to move a chariot up and get barely into my flank and get his exploit flanks ruled off, which, it's a really good rule. And Household Guard are one of the things that really doesn't like taking it. So he gets into effective range and barely into my flank. So he's going to get to very effective shooting. So 5 hits. I'm on 2s. I reroll 6s and 1s. So I end up taking 4 wounds. I just lose a stand. Order of the Ashen Dawn. Their job is to win a flank by themselves. If they just win this flank and they go take that marker, they're able to just run up the side and take the red zone on turn 5 or 6, we win the game. There's nothing that stops the Ashen Dawn if that happens. I put the Priory on the wrong side here, and then we decide not to fix it later, but it's fine. So he he shoots me with another chariot and does 2 wounds. I go with Mercenary Crossbows, and he's in the terrain, but I still shoot him, right? Like, there's no reason not to. I do 3 hits. He probably takes like 2. He might fail all of these. He does, yeah. So I get an extra plink in there that I probably shouldn't. But any little bit helps. We want to be able to destroy them with the March Charge from the Ashen Dawn. So if we're able to get a little bit of like plink damage in, we're a lot more likely to kill them with impacts, especially if we bless the impacts. So that gives us a pretty big, potentially pretty big play there. Like if we're able to set it up that he charges and kills the Mercenary Crossbows, and we charge and kill him, and then we get to move forward, then we can potentially take a charge from Thyrians, just kill them the next turn, because we can eat one. We can eat 1 round from 3 Thyrian, and then be able to like kill the Thyrians without inspiring and march into the zone. And if we get to that zone 1 turn sooner, we get a huge amount of advantage. So he does a lot of messing around here. He's trying to figure out if he can do the march to get 2 of his stands into my flank, and then charge the flank of my crossbows so that he can't really get screwed over by Ashen Dawn. And the answer to that is no, he can't. I probably shouldn't have angled my Mercenary Crossbows the way I did, but I did do it so that they could cover and shoot something that would charge the garrison. So I don't regret my choice, but it is something that's like worth considering. So he goes Thyrians here. His Haspists are a screen to tank Ashen Dawn in the face. I score 3, scoring that center zone, scoring the left side zone, and my remaining unit of Crimson Tower comes in. He was already all in, so we're pretty safe there. So right now I'm in a pretty commanding board state. I believe, so I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? Well, I'm not very scared of those Selenoid shots if I go early with Gilded Legion. But I really want to go with Household Guard. Because if I go Household Guard and I just charge into those Hoplites, I am expecting 30 hits at Cleave 1. And if they don't have Untouchable or Tenacious, they're gonna take a chunk. Or sorry, 30 attacks. Because there's 6 from the Noble Lord, 5 from the unit leader, 4 from the guy next to him, so 15 in the front and 15 in the back. So that turns into effectively 36 attacks on 4s, because 6 is reroll. So this means that we expect to do 24 hits. That's going to expect to do 12 wounds. That's 3 stands, and like 3.5 stands. But well within the range of doing 4 stands and breaking them. And that could be pretty big. So we do 12 hits, I think. Or no, so we only did 9 wounds. We did 21 hits, and he saved 12 of them, and then he failed 0 resolves. So we're a little sad that we only did 9 wounds from our expected 12. But it's within probability, and it also makes it fairly likely, reasonably possible for me to break him on the following turn. He goes with Selenoid as his first action here. I expect that so that he can shoot the longbows, but I thought he might go for something more aggressive. If it was me, I would have gone with Aristarch first, expecting the charge from the Household Guard, but especially since he was within 8, so I would have gone like Aristarch and then just charge. So I just activate Double Time Bastion and just run Gilded Legion at him. I'm in the zone. He can't move past me with his Hoplites. I don't know exactly how far away I am, so we talk about this after the game, but he's definitely screwed here. I'm gonna pause because I want to talk about how completely boned he is because of something very minor. He went with these Selenoi and he took aim and volleyed. I went with Gilded Legion and I triple marched. So these Hoplites can't do anything. They can't get to these Gilded Legion. They can't engage them. They can't charge over here. They're completely stuck. And not only are they stuck, but they are stuck for this turn and next turn. And possibly longer than that. It is very reasonable for me to activate Gilded Legion on the following turn, charge Selenoi, and then pass. And then he is stuck another turn with his Hoplites. So then I can just clash the Selenoi whenever I want, or I can shoot them or whatever. Now, it doesn't make a ton of sense for me to do that because he's going to be charging into water, into pike formation. Not that he cares about inspiring, but it at least takes away his Haspist impacts. Yay. But it could have guaranteed that I had Bastion up. So, but I think either way I'm going to. So he now has Selenoi that the only thing they can shoot are Gilded Legion in the front that are in best of men range. So they're going to be rerolling 6s. And they're likely just going to charge, clash, and be defense 4, rerolling 6s when those Hoplites charge in. Which they're not going to like that. Like that's a really bad position for that large Hoplite unit. And his Haspists are stuck on killing this garrison and then being there for a turn. They can't do anything. They charge it, they clash it, they don't get impacts because it's a garrison. So they clash, they probably kill the Merc crossbows. But then they're stuck there. They use their whole action. They have to spend an entire turn like double marching either in either direction to like be back in the game. And frankly, that's just 2 rounds of them getting shot by the longbows that don't really have anything else to do. So this is the mistake. Bryan and I talked about it, and we didn't measure this, and it does look like it's over, I think, like 2.2 inches. So he probably, had he shot without take aim and moved backwards so that these Hoplites could march charge into the Gilded Legion, and he'd still have his Selenoi in future turns, that would have done much better for him. Also of note, if he does that, he has the ability to reform these Haspists and charge my flank. And then I'm engaged on 2 sides. That's not great because the Haspists are getting shot in the butt by Merc crossbows and shot in the flank by longbows. So I'd probably still charge in and kill these Mercenary crossbow, but like doing that takes the Haspist out of the game. So these guys are really in a rough spot. Not that they have a lot of good choices, but they're in a rough spot. But this Polemarch block being basically locked out of the game spells a lot of doom. And in games, like when you're playing a game of Conquest at a pretty high level, a mistake as simple as that can really steamroll. The snowball effect is real. So my longbows go, they just take aim and volley into Haspist, hoping to get a stand. Don't, it's fine. The Haspist charge in. He charges, he squares up on the building. It's all good. He makes his 13 attacks. They're on 4s. I'm saving on 1s because I get a defense from that. So he hits with 10. There's basically no way for me to survive this. I even saved pretty well, so I only take 7, so it was possible, but I still died. I died exactly, though, so if I'd been alive with a wound, that would have been hilarious. Mercenary crossbows, so these ones, they're not quite in range, and I decide it's not worth it to march and shoot. I have a similar decision to make here actually, where I could just march backwards with those Mercenary Crossbowmen, but I think I just go for the take aim, and I'm really hoping that I get maybe a little lucky and take out a Haspist stand. Because if I can kill one stand, that actually frees up my Ashen pretty well, because it's very difficult for him to prevent me from like march charging into his flank. And if I'm able to march forward and then flank charge him, I would be able probably to get one of my stands on the zone. So that's what I was hoping for there. I don't get it. I don't kill the stand. So he's able to zone me. So he goes with a chariot, and he's good where he's at. He does get a little aggressive with this chariot, and this is a mistake. I don't think he was thinking about my Crimson Tower coming in, but my Crimson Tower are coming in. So they are going to come in, and they are going to come in too wide, and they are going to be right in the face of that chariot. His shooting is effective, though. He definitely is beating up my Gilded or my Household Guard pretty well with those chariots. But I mean, that's what they do, right? It's 240 points of chariots, and so far they've killed a couple of stands of Household Guard. If they're allowed to just do whatever they want for the entire game, which they're pretty good at doing, frankly, they're gonna do some damage. But, you know, if we look at it objectively, that's 4 rounds of shooting from 2 chariots, and it has killed 120 points worth of Household Guard. And a lot of those Household Guards still got to attack. Like, they still did a ton of damage. And that's a big deal. So he's measuring stuff here. I go Imperial Officer. I think he's got something in the stack, and he's kind of deciding. I don't think he's actually flipped his card over yet. It is Haspist's, or maybe he shuffled his discard. I don't really know. So his plan here, he sets up so that there isn't room for these guys in his front arc. And then he goes back and he tries to measure this, and he tries to like see if he can get at a weird angle, but then there is room for the Ashen to charge him, and he does not want to be charged by Ashen He doesn't want it. What he doesn't realize is that he's going to get charged by Ashen because they are able to charge the Haspists over here. The footprint of this is like kind of the square, these 4 like dots on the top of this building. That's actually where the base of it is basically a square around those. So it is deceiving from the video. So my Crimson Tower come in. I'm a little lazy about it at the time. They're coming in too wide, and I just like kind of wheel them in. I don't actually remember if I change them right away or if I just say it, and we just like fix it like while he's doing stuff. They could have come in 3 wide though. Actually, like looking at it, there was room for them to be 3 wide. So realistically, they probably should have just come on like this, and then like slightly more straightened out, because they had a lot of movement, so they could have done it pretty easily. He wouldn't be able to get away from them, and we want them to be in a position where if he runs backwards with this chariot, I can just like march charge the other chariot if I can clear these guys out of the way. So yeah, his Thyrians then move up, and I get really excited when he does this. So I can't quite make it, but it's by a millimeter. After he moves these Thyrians up, like with my full 7-inch wheel, I end up about probably literally 1 millimeter behind his Haspist line with the wheel and the march forward. So this corner, it's very hard to see here, but this corner is very, very slightly touching this Haspist, so I would overrun them. Otherwise, this charge is an 8, which means I needed a 2, or a 9, within 9. So I needed a 2. And if I make that charge, I kill those Haspists with the impacts, because I bless them. and then the Haspist die, or the Thyrians die, and I'm in the zone, and I just win the game. So this Thyrian positioning was very risky, like very, very risky. I'm also unable to get in his flank. I couldn't, if I marched 7 inches forward, I wouldn't get 3 stands in his flank, so I couldn't do that. So just barely couldn't do any of the things I wanted. So I end up wheeling like this, and then marching a couple inches, and then I'm like sitting on top of my Merc crossbows. And then I charge the Haspists over here. So I charge to the Haspists that are on the garrison in the center of the board, and I kill them with impacts. Because they only have 11 wounds left. So I charge in and I kill Haspists with impacts. Which puts me right in front of Thyrians, but I can take 1 Thyrian charge. That's the plan. I just don't care that my Ashen Dawn are going to get charged in the face by Thyrians. He needs to make that a relative priority activation, very likely for his game plan, because he just straight loses if he doesn't, and I go early with Ashen Dawn. But so I just choose to try to win the other flank instead, because I know that I can win this one either way. Because, I mean, they're Ashen Dawn. Like, they are a regiment that knows no weaknesses. I don't remember if I have to roll this. I believe I was within 8, so I think I just make the charge. I might have had to roll it, and I don't know. But I end up wheeling up here, and then my free wheel gets past the Thyrians, so then I just charge in, and I get 1 stand in contact, but we don't care, because we have impacts. I roll a bunch of dice. I think we just barely kill them off, but the impacts from the Priory commander actually really help here because of the AP2. Realistically, it doesn't matter much if I kill them off, but it's nice to kill them, because no matter what, they're going to be broken and nearly dead, and yeah, he dies. So we kill the Haspist, and now we're in position to threaten him. It is reasonable for me to just be like, I'm just going to make my first activation Ashen Dawn, and if I win priority and charge and kill Thyrians, I win the game. I forgot to roll the dangerous terrain, so I did fail 1 and took 2. It theoretically could have killed a stand, but, 1 and 218, so thankfully we didn't have to go back. He activates Hoplites, and he just attacks into Household Guard. We take some damage. He's rolling a lot of attacks. Take some more damage. I'm like, oh man, that's a lot of 6s. Good. Or no, that was his R start, so he only hits with 1 of those. So that was pretty lucky. And then I fail 1 resolve, because that was on resolve 5 or 4. I don't know. I'm not sure what dice are being rolled, to be honest. I kind of lost track. I take some damage on my Household Guard. Oh, we went back because he was rolling too high of a clash on a bunch of his attacks, so he actually just like whiffed with his Haspist instead of hitting with all of them, because he hit with them on like 4s. And we're like, because he doesn't get inspired for charging, and he didn't activate from strategic stack, and it's only the Polemarch unit that gets the +1 clash all day. All right, so now I'm in a position where I feel really strong about this game. Like, I don't really want the Gilded Legion to get shot in the face by Selenoy. So I think I go Household Guard, Gilded Legion, Ashen Dawn, maybe. I might do Mercenary Crossbows. I have to assume he's just going to do Thirian first, right? And if he goes Thirian first, then he's going to hit Ashen kind of no matter what. I'm not super worried about that. I'm probably going to lose 2 stands, and then I'm going to kill him because I'm Ashen. And then, yeah. So I'm expecting to lose 2 stands and then kill him back. And I'm going to lose my Mercenary Crossbows to the Haspists. And I want my Gilded Legion to charge and kill those Selenoi, and then be still touching the zone, and also like in the water, so that the Polemarch gets to play I'm fighting in the water, the game, which the Polemarch does not want to play that game, it turns out, because Gilded Legion just beat him in that case. So I go first, I go Household Guard. So I have 15... I have 24 attacks here. And I have... So this time they spike a roll, so we hit with 20. And this is really huge. And this is one of the things, like, sometimes dice are good. So he fails 12. That's 3 stands. So we made up for the first turn. That breaks him. So now he's making these on 2s. So he saves 3 of them. So he takes 12. So he takes 9, which kills exactly the 5 remaining wounds and the 4 remaining wounds. And I have Regalia, so I'm Dauntless. So I was already in charge of this. He does do 3 hits, which are just 3 wounds with his Aristarchus lightsaber. So, like, that stings. And then I charge him in the flank. The big plan here, of course, like, with Regalia, I have an action left, so I'm able to tie up that chariot, which is pretty big. So he goes first with Thirians, and that's correct. Because if I go first with Ashen and I charge the Thirians, he just loses the game, right? Like, there's nothing he can do. But I can't play for that, so I can take the Thirian charge, and I'm just planning on that. So I choose to bless this, because blessing the 1s doesn't really do anything. So I only take 1 wound from the impacts, because I'm getting those on 3s. So he has 16 swings, 12 hits. This is pretty normal. Like, it's 11 and change. So I save 4, which is pretty good, and I reroll it just as an example, and I would have still failed all of them. Or, like, I didn't make any of the rerolls. So that's the reason to bless the impacts. Like, you want to bless where you're actually going to get value out of it. And then I failed 2 resolves, so I did lose an extra stand there. But I'm still going to have 2 stands of Ashen and the character. So Gilded Legion charge in, and Bastion and charge and kill, and he just removes the Selenoi. They're just dead. He goes with this chariot, and he shoots my Household Guard in the butt, and then charges me. Then charges the Crimson Tower, because he can't get away from the Crimson Tower, so he might as well charge them. And, I mean, that's fair. This is why I probably should have had the Crimson Tower 3 wide, though, because it makes this play significantly more dangerous for him. It's a few more attacks. I still probably take 2 rounds to kill the chariot, ironically, but, yeah, well. I make these guys smaller because I know I'm going to actually need to here in a minute. I'm going to need to, like, move them. So I'm just working on fixing my TTS stuff while he's deciding what to do with his chariot. The chariot ends up... I'm going to fast forward a little here. Chariot ends up shooting me in the back. And he hits with 9 out of 8 shots. Or 10 out of 8 shots, sorry. And then I fail 7 of the saves. So, like, that was pretty good. I took 2 more wounds than he should get hits. Slightly more than 2 more wounds than he should get hits. And then I go with Mercenary Crossbows, and I just point-blank shoot the Haspists, and I do 5. I could have gotten lucky there and done 7 and broken him, and, I mean, that's just insult to injury if that happens. So he charges in. He doesn't fail the terrain things, and then he does 4 impacts, not 6 impacts. So we make him reroll it, and he hits with 4 either way. And then I think I just remove them because he says clash. And I'm like, well, I'm getting 0s on saves. I made him roll it. I don't know. I like people rolling dice. So then the Crimson Tower go. And this is why it was like, if I was 3 wide here, I'd have 16 attacks instead of 12 attacks. So I do like 12 hits, which is still doesn't likely kill him. 12 hits almost kills him. I think it kills him exacties. So yeah, probably he shouldn't quite die to the just Inspire Clash from them. But it's real close. So I probably should have kept them 3 wide. So his Hoplites go. They're going to charge me. He rolls a die, which he doesn't need to, because I tell him, because he's like, oh god, I rolled a 1. And I was like, that doesn't matter, sir. You get a 3. So, because Phalanx, you always roll a 3 on the die, unless you remove the rule. He doesn't get inspired here. Theoretically, he could have activated from Strategic Stack, because he didn't use it, to get inspired. But it probably wouldn't have changed much. So I take a couple of wounds. I'm in range for Best of Men, which is really the plan. Like, you keep Best of Men on Gilded Legion is pretty great. The Polemarch, of course, hits with 7 out of 7. And I take 2 of those. And I pass my resolves, so. The Ashen Dawn go. I just Inspire Clash because I already used my Blessed. So we have 13 hits, so that's... so he takes 10 hits on 1s. And then 6 attacks from 6 attacks on 2s. So 5 hits on 2s. So he saves super well on the ones on 2s. He was 1 behind on the other one, so he took 11 total, and then he's resolved 2, so 11, 16 total. So he's still alive on 2 wounds, or on 2 wounds, because 16 is because that's good. It's good. I thought he was dead because I forgot that they went up to 3 wounds. Not like forgot, just in the moment, wasn't thinking about it. His other chariot goes, and he just Inspire Clashes, because what else is he going to do? Like, he could retreat, or he could withdraw. I don't actually think he can. I think he literally doesn't fit. So he hits, he does a couple of wounds. So I'm down to 2 wounds on my Household Guard, fighting that chariot, and I don't love it. So I end up reforming because I'm in range to reform and just shoot at the, take half shots, but shoot at that 1 remaining Haspist stand, or Thyrian stand. So this is 6 shots on 2s, which is 2 hits on average. And I do the 2 hits, and he's on 1s, so odds are pretty good he dies, but he lives on a wound. But they're not great, right? Like, he's 30% to live, and like I'm not guaranteed to get those, like all sorts of stuff. But I do know he can't kill me from where he's at with 1 broken Thyrian stand, right? He's gonna get 3 hits, and I'm going to take the 3 wounds, and then I'm going to kill him. His Haspist would have to reform and charge me, and then I would blast that. So I'm not super scared. I win priority. It's not hugely relevant here, but I could theoretically lose to that chariot. But I hit with 11 out of 11. His Hardened 1 comes into play, but he fails 8, and he dies. And then I just sidestep a little because I'm trying to get closer to the zone. The correct thing for me to do, by the way, is to literally never get involved over here. If I hadn't taken so much damage from that shooting, I would have loved for those Household Guard to just go way later. But because I was on 2 wounds, I really needed them to go early, because I really needed that Chariot dead. Because it could kill me with its 3 hits in melee. It shouldn't, but it definitely could, because I'm at 2 wounds. And I just really couldn't afford to have that happen. I think the Hoplite activation here is a mistake. I would have gone Therian first, because if you draw the Therian and it dies, or if the Therian's dead, you don't really care. I know the plan here is to get up before Bastion, right? He's trying to get damage in prior to Bastion, and that makes sense. Like, it's smart to get damage in before Bastion goes up, and he does do a lot of damage. I take 10 wounds, I lose 3 stands. I go Gilded Legion, so I was definitely trying to get Bastion up. But I don't know if the value's there for those hops. I probably would have tried to go with them later so that I could activate them out of strategic stack, or just inspire off of using lighter alloys. But probably I would have just gone for the inspire and just let them activate later. Because it's tough, but they're not going to beat the Gilded Legion. They're not very likely to beat the Gilded Legion, but he's a little bit under the barrel here because he's gonna probably get flanked by Crimson Tower next turn, and so longbows. They have to march. I think maybe they can shoot. I don't remember. I don't remember if I marched. I don't think I have to march. I think I'm within 24. Oh no, I do have to march. So I march forward and I shoot into, I think, the Thyri. No, I shoot the Haspist because he's on 2 wounds. I was like, all right, if it works this time, he breaks, and that's just super bad for him. And that might have been a little bit greedy. Realistically, I probably should have just gone with the Ashen before the longbows there and just gone Clash March forward. So I go Clash, and then I just Clash, and then I march towards the zone. I'm not able to get there this turn, which is a little sad, but yeah, I actually like fix my stand here, and then I just, with his Haspist being broken, I know that I pretty much lock up the game if I just go towards that other zone. Like, his Haspist can't come to me and expect to do anything. Even if he kills 1 stand of Ashen Dawn, he's not surviving the counterattack. So he removes broken and reforms and makes sure he's within 6 of the zone, and that's all he does. So the Crimson Tower go. They make their 12 attacks. They hit with 11 this time. 6 go through, which just kills him. So he is now dead. But had they been 3 wide and had they killed him last turn or put him down to like very few wounds, they would have been able to march after that action, which would put them in a better position. So I should have stayed 3 wide, because it just, a bunch of times it really mattered this game. Because then if they had marched here, they would be probably in position to at the very least march charge the Hoplite block. And we're talking about like how those Haspists kind of got caught up there. We kind of play it out from here. I end up losing some stuff. Like, there's a lot of time left on this game because we do kind of play these turns out to see what the final score is. But obviously this one's decided, right? Like, the Ashen Dawn are going to get this zone. The Crimson Tower are going to get this zone. And there's just no way that those aren't going to stay what they are. The Haspists are going to get this zone until they're killed by longbows. The longbows cover the entire zone, so they'll just take aim and volley, and eventually kill the Haspist. I think it takes 3 turns, but they will eventually kill the Haspist stand. So I go Gilded Legion, I get Barrier up, he takes 6 down to 4, I don't know. He takes some damage, he makes some resolves. So he takes 5. It turns into 6, so he loses 2 stands. That's a little low from the Gilded Legion, but it's not the end of the world. So he goes with hops here. And that's the Polemarch, I believe, hitting with like 10 out of 11. I don't know what happened. I'm not actually sure what's going on with dice. It doesn't really matter. He's attacking my Gilded Legion, and I believe I'm going to take some I'm going to take a bunch of damage. I don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, I take 4, it looks like. I think there's a dead stand under that Bastion token. Maybe I just saved super well against this Polemarch. I don't remember. So there's 8 hits into his flank on 1s. He takes all of them, so that breaks him. Because he lost 2 stands already this turn, and then he has to re-roll these, and they're all on 2s, so he takes another 6. And that pretty much, that sums it up, right? Like, they're very dead now. That Haspist goes into the zone, the Ashen go into this zone, and we're like, yay, we have zones, we're happy. We're winning the game, and then he goes to the Polemarch, and then I go Crimson Tower, and they march into this zone, and we're kind of like just quick playing, and the longbows shoot at the Haspist, and yada yada yada. So clearly, like, I'm gonna take this zone and this zone for the rest of the game. His Haspist is going to take this zone until it gets shot to death by longbows. It only takes 1 from that first volley, so that's good for it. So it probably gets to score 2 more times. I believe it does survive the next volley and dies to the third one. I don't win priority on 8, I don't think, because I would probably go first with the household guard, because if they win priority, they kill here, and then yay. So we roll, he wins priority, his hoplites go. I take 4 from the Haspist. I only take 2 of those. Or no, sorry, the Haspist goes into the flank and kills my Noble Lord. Or kills my household guard. And I think a charge might still be worth it, but it was costly there. Like, I do lose a Warlord. I take a bunch of damage. He does a lot of hits into Gilded Legion. I have like 6 whole wounds left in my Gilded Legion. And that was the Noble Lord's attacks back. Who actually, the Noble Lord actually kills the Hoplites because they shatter from the clash from him. So yeah, 2 more wounds from the shooting, and then obviously, like, the game's decided here, and we just shoot it out one more time. And I do kill him on 9 with the shooting. So the final score is, we tally up points for regiments, and the final score, I believe, is 60 to 18. I'm a big fan of this combined arms list. Obviously, Ashen are monsters, right? Like, nobody's confusing Ashen with a unit that isn't monstrously powerful. But the Noble Lord's Best of Men Warlord ability, coupled with Gilded Legion and Household Guard, is just so strong offensively. You're basically you're hitting on 4s, rerolling 6s, which is pretty great, right? Like, what is that? 74% and change hits. So it's just like really, really brutal. And with Relentless Drills, you know, when you're a deep regiment, you're getting so many extra hits. Veterans is slightly better, but it's not worth the points, right? Like, it's not. You'd be spending 20 points on the Gilded Legion, and they get. Actually, I think the Gilded Legion get almost nothing from it. Like, they get Clash 4, I guess. Actually, I don't even know if they do. Can you go past 3 with it now? So it's 20 points on them, and it would be 20 points on the Household Guard. So it doesn't. Veterans is in a weird spot where, yeah. So veterans would work. It does go to Clash 4, so it's good. Like, it costs 40 points though, and I just don't really see getting 40 points of value out of veterans. I don't know. It is what it is. It's close. Like, if you wanted to take veterans, you could cut a stand somewhere pretty easily. You could cut like 2 stands of Longbowmen or something, but to get like veterans and Armor of Dominion, and I mean, I like those options. I think I have I think I don't have Armor of Dominion in this list. I have a lot of lists, so I do forget which ones have what sometimes. Yeah, I don't have Armor of Dominion in this list. So cutting 2 stands of longbows to get for veterans and Armor of Dominion is certainly reasonable. I'm not sure it's worth it, but it's in the realm. It's a viable option. No one's gonna fault you either way. I don't know. I like the big block of longbows. There are a lot of games where nothing can really get to them to even hurt them. This game, they were only hurt because I made a mistake. And moved them up too far. Otherwise, there really wasn't going to be any way to threaten them for the whole game. And they would have just got to sit there putting out like 16 shots on 3s on whatever they wanted. And that really adds up. You know, it kills like almost 1.5 Haspist stands a turn. Or I guess almost a full Haspist stand a turn. And that, like, really, you know, it doesn't take that much for them to get 200 points of value, right? Like, they're shooting for 8 or 9 turns. And you can expect them to get 8 volleys off. So you can expect them to get pretty close to 60 hits over the course of the game. And that stuff, that really adds up. 200 points for 60 AP1 hits. It's pretty good. The biggest advantage that they have, like, is that range. 24 inches is just so far. And there's a lot of size 2 stuff that they can just sit there and shoot it. And you don't have to be shooting the best targets. This is, I think, one of the things that people like don't translate super well from like playing a lot of other war games, things like 40K, is with your shooting in Conquest, you're just trying to do damage, right? Like, you're just getting rid of stands. It doesn't have to be the best target. It can be the best target that you can safely shoot. It's the same thing I try to talk about with scoring. You always want to take zones, but you only want to take zones that you can freely take, or contest zones that you can freely contest. It's not worth throwing away a regiment for. And that's something that I think gets lost on a lot of the community. There's one thing I wanted to talk about with the early positioning. See how both of these light units... So these guys are slightly wrong. I can kill these and score. These guys are more than 5.2 away from this zone. So he would have to be 3 stands deep in order to kill these and score. And he'd have to be 4 wide in order to be on this line. And this is a micro positioning thing, but if he wants to engage and kill my longbows, he has to be off of a zone. He has to sacrifice scoring that turn. And those things don't always matter, but they matter a little. Like, think about where your opponent's regiments are going to be. If they're one wide, force them to charge you, or if they're one deep, stay 3 inches out of the zone. Just make sure that if they are coming to get you, they're not in the zone. Just try to stop those little pieces of scoring anytime you can, because that's a good example of a way to remove free victory points. Like, anything that could come over here, like let's say he just like ran double Haspist down my throat, right? They would have to come over here and try to deal with these longbows, and they would have to not be scoring, not be contesting the zone, and be out of position to try to kill them. And that is the reason I like longbows. The range is long enough. It's one of the same reasons I really like marksman clones. Long range units get to force your opponent to be in a very bad position if they're going to kill them. They're not going to output the most damage. They don't do nearly as much damage as melee regiments overall, but they do it safer, and getting rid of them usually screws up your opponent's positioning. And that is infinitely valuable. So take that as a lesson from this game. Just make sure, like, don't worry about optimizing the value of your shooting. Just worry about where can I shoot from safely, then what is the best value I can get, and shoot safely. Just be safe. Like, moving these Merc crossbows into this garrison was almost certainly bad. I very likely shouldn't have done it. But I knew that he was going to have to put Selenoy here. So I knew I was going to get to threaten them. And then I figured it was going to force him to do something like run Haspist straight at this. He can't run Hoplites at it. He can't afford to have them out of the game for 2 turns and expose their flanks. So he has to throw Haspist into it. They don't even kill it on average, right? They get 9 hits, which I take, like, okay, it's close. There's like, I think I have like a 40% chance of living. But, like, they might not kill it. And if they don't kill them, they're stuck there a whole nother turn not being able to do anything. Like, they clash with no Inspire, and then they, like, kind of inch sideways or something, but they still have to spend a whole nother turn trying to get out of there. So, yeah, I guess those are kind of, like, the big takeaways. Like, I think this was a big moment, and then, obviously, he didn't see this Gilded Legion triple march coming, and that locked his Hoplites out of the game for a turn. And those Hoplites not being in the game for a turn and then having to fight on water, it just killed them. They still would have had to fight on water, but, like, had he moved the Selenoy back, but he would have been in the game. Now, to be fair, I might have had an extra stand of longbows, but me having one more stand of longbows versus him having a whole unit of Selenoy, is a good trade for him. He's happy with that one. Even if they're just arcing firing over these Hoplites to try to do chip damage to Gilded Legion, it adds up. And like I said, your archers, the big advantage of skirmishy archers is that they're going to be rolling those dice if you can keep them safe for 7 or 8 turns. Even 6, right? Like, even if you get 6 rounds of shooting, 6 rounds of shooting from 4 stands of Selenoy is 30 hits on 2s. Like, 30 hits on 2s, that's 15 wounds into D3. Almost 4 stands. Like, it's more than an MSU. Like, just remember, guys, shooting's good. Just take what damage you can get. That's my big takeaway from this episode. Hopefully I'll see you guys all next week. Carl and I are playing a game tomorrow night. I am playing a triple Rakshasha Sorcerer Kings into him playing I believe he's playing Double Gilded Legion, Household Guard, 100 Kingdoms. So that'll be an interesting one to see.